Good morning, folks. Welcome to That's My Farm. I'm Jim Shroyer, your host, and we're at the Commodity Classic in Manhattan, Kansas today, and we're going to be interviewing representatives of the Kansas Corn Growers Association, Soybean Association, Grain Sorghum Association, and the Wheat Growers Association. So stay with us. We'll be right back and hear what they have to say for us.
Closed captioning brought to you by Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff Progress, powered by Kansas farmers.
That's My Farm is brought to you in part by Tallgrass Commodities, big enough to serve, small enough to care.
Welcome back to That's My Farm. I'm Jim Shroyer, and with us we have Clayton Short, the chairman of the Grain Sorghum Commission here in Kansas from Saline County. And just real briefly, Clayton, tell me what are the good things that are going on for grain sorghum producers or agriculture in general in Kansas?
Well, I think all of us know that the grain price is suffering a little bit. However, the sorghum price with our improved basis has been impressive. We all know the cattle situation with record prices. Well, we're seeing record basis levels, and that is attributed to the Chinese exports. We are very excited about that. I think our next issue will be is can we get those prices, can we get that basis to roll the new crop, 2015 crop. We're making cropping decisions now, and we've got to have some movement there to force more sorghum acres in the ground. Right. A lot of those acres have gone to corn and soybeans over the years, but I think with the low prices with corn, sorghum's looking a lot better. Absolutely. And we've got some water issues in Kansas that's positive for sorghum. We've got some of the larger companies, seed companies and chemical companies, re-emphasizing yield and some weed control. That probably is our number one negative right now, is our weed issues in sorghum. What about trade with Cuba? How's that fit in with sorghum growers? Well, I mean, obviously it's a really close, really good market. We should be competitive down there. I'm not sure what their use is really, how many bushels it represents. Right. But to be honest, with the high sorghum prices, obviously the high basis prices, Cuba may be priced out for right now. I mean, China they have a definite need for sorghum, and they are making it known. Well, what about, you've said some positives, what are some negatives? You also mentioned some negatives with low commodity prices in general. What are some things that need to be improved on for sorghum? Yeah, sorghum has some issues. Sorghum does. I can think of one. Producers, number one concern is weed control. Exactly. We do not have very many over-the-top chemicals. We struggle killing the weeds if they come up with the sorghum. Right. And then number two, there has not been a lot of genetic improvement in sorghum yield, and that is an issue. We're trying. There's some things in the pipeline. There was some real positive information that came out of the Hayes experiment station with some improved yields. But those are still 2 or 3 years away. They're not in in the bag form yet for farmers to start to grow. Okay. But again, and we got some herbicide things coming down the pike too. Okay. Okay. So tell me, why should a grain sorghum producer be a member of the Grain Sorghum Association, Growers Association? I realize you're a commissioner on the commission side. Listen, everyone that is producing grain, regardless of what it is, soybeans, corn, or grain sorghum, needs to belong to their association. That is your lobbying arm. That is who is representing you and issues that affect your production of grain sorghum on the farm. Everything from the EPA, this Farm Bill lobbying for different aspects of that. Growers need to be represented, or regulation will eat you up on the farm. Clayton, I really appreciate you taking time with us here this morning. Thank you, Jim. And thank you. And folks, we'll be right back after these words from our sponsors.
Soil is the life of a farm, and for 25 years, SureCrop Liquid Crop Nutrition has helped growers produce abundant quality crops while preserving and improving the soils they steward. SureCrop offers complete soil and plant analysis with cropping recommendations, delivery direct to your on-farm storage, and quality crop nutrition custom blended for your field. Choose SureCrop for the assurance of excellence for your soil. Call today or visit their website for more information.
This hog is head over hoof for meal made from U.S. soybeans. Now, one hog isn't that impressive, but suppose we add another, and another, and another. Before long, you've got billions of hungry customers around the world all clamoring for the same thing. Our soybeans. Learn more about the billion-dollar appetite of animal agriculture at BeyondTheElevator.com. Brought to you by America's soybean farmers and their checkoff.
That's My Farm is brought to you in part by Tallgrass Commodities. Big enough to serve, small enough to care.
Welcome back to That's My Farm. We're in luck because we have Ken McCauley, a Donovan and Brown County farmer, and he is on the Corn Growers Association and the Corn Commission, and we're here at the Commodity Classic here in Manhattan, and I really wanted to kind of get your thoughts on what's positive for corn growers right now. I mean, I'm thinking negatively because I'm thinking corn prices. So I want to put a positive spin on this. So tell me what's going on that corn growers should be pleased about.
Well, I think we've got a lot of good things to think about in the Farm Bill. There's a lot of protection there. Right now, the farmers are evaluating everything, and I really think that there's a little overthinking going on about too big of a deal, and really I heard yesterday that the state sign up is only 10% for Kansas right now, so guys really need to get that out there and get it figured out. And when you look at the protection that's in this Farm Bill, it's really good. When you talk about if you're a price-minded guy that understands the counter-cyclical program, that's below a certain price, that's, if you don't think it'll go back up, that's the way you're thinking. Right. The other part is the revenue products. If you understand crop insurance, you probably understand the ARC, and that to me is where I'm going to be on the county level, because it represents a GRIP type policy, and you can look at that and you can understand that. So I think farmers really need to get on the ball and start to get into the offices and sign up, update your bases and yields. But aside from that, there's a lot of things out there with the weather patterns are looking better. We don't know this summer what it's going to be, but there's a lot of uses. Lower prices spur demand, and the exports might pick up. We don't know what's going to happen to ethanol, but the other part of that is when prices drop down, people start using more of things. Right.
What about genetics? I mean, corn genetics have just gone off the charts. Yeah. I mean, I remember 35 years ago when I first came, yields in northeast Kansas were well under 100 bushel. Yeah. And here we are some years later, and they're well above. So kind of talk a little bit about that.
Well, when you look at that and you say, I started farming in 1971, and we hoped for 100 bushel. And to last year's crop on our farm, we averaged 235. And that's a lot of acres and a lot of high quality, good corn that we got in. The whole harvest was 60 days, which was a long time, but that was a lot of bushels. And all the genetics, all the new machinery, all those things have made us more productive, and really we're netting more per acre because of those things.
Right. Okay, so we've said some good things here. What are some of the downsides right now you see for corn or agriculture in Kansas?
Well, I think everything's upside down right now on your inputs. And that happens. You understand that too. But we've got at least one more year of that. And if things get bad enough this year, like yields are low, I think they'll adjust quicker. But right now it's too high to put corn in the ground. And if we don't have a 200 bushel yield at $3 or $3.50, it's a break-even deal. So you might as well say we've got a $4 break-even on any estimates, and I think that's a big negative. But farmers are still buying anhydrous at $700 a ton, and seed reflects if farmers don't buy those things, prices go down, but everybody's still buying them because you've just got to have that.
So tell me, you're with the Corn Growers Association and the Commission. Why should corn growers in the state be involved with the Corn Growers Association? What's the advantage?
I think that every farmer needs to think about who's going to represent them at a state and national level, and those things are just really important. After being president of the National Corn Growers Association, I saw that firsthand, that if you're not there, if you don't have a good quality representation in Washington or Kansas, you'll get rolled, because we're a minority in the whole country, less and less every year, because we can do more and more, and it's not a bad thing, it's just something that happens. But if you don't have somebody there looking out for you, no matter what your belief is, you will get rolled, and you will not lose ground, basically. Yes, right. So that's really important thing. I think organizations are very economical. I mean, everybody should belong. Nationwide, we've got about 12% people belong to the National Corn and Kansas Corn Growers, and that should be 100%, because it's a cheap deal that really represents growers very well.
Ken, I really appreciate you taking this time. Good to see you again, too.
Good to see you. Thanks.
Folks, stay with us. We'll be right back after these words.
Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture, represents grassroots agriculture. The state's largest and most powerful farm organization stands up for its members through leadership development, agriculture education, legal defense, environmental advocacy, farm safety, and risk management. Members also enjoy money-saving benefits. To join our organization today or to learn more, go to www.kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
Buying a car shouldn't be this hard. And at Brown Chevrolet Buick in Wamego, it isn't. It's actually awesome. Whether you want a new or used car or truck, Toby's team can make the deal. Even if you want to custom order a new car or truck, Toby's team can make the deal. See Toby's team at Brown Chevrolet Buick in Wamego. We're awesome. Tallgrass Commodities offers producers bulk commodities at a reasonable price with reliable service throughout the whole Midwest. To find out more about Tallgrass Commodities, visit tallgrass.us or call 785-494-8484. That's My Farm is brought to you in part by Tallgrass Commodities, big enough to serve, small enough to care.
Welcome back to That's My Farm. I'm Jim Shroyer, and with us in this section we have Gary Robbins, who's representing the Kansas Soybean Association, and Gary's and his son Tanner, who was in my class a few years ago. But at any rate, up in Pott, Jackson County, and I know you grow beans and corn and alfalfa. So, you know, tell me some positive things going on right now. I'm thinking, you know, some of the negative things like prices coming down a little bit, but we don't want to go there right now. So what are some of the positive things that you see going on in Kansas for soybean producers?
You know, probably right now, like the genetics and stuff are getting better and better all the time, and then they're coming out with the dicamba tolerant beans, right? Which I think we're on the verge of having those where we'll be able to use them this year, and we're really getting to the point where we need those, because I've got problems with weed resistance on my farm, like with the water hemp. I've got water hemp coming out.
Resistant water hemp?
Yeah, and I'm starting to get some giant ragweed, and they're even seeing it up north of us, getting some giant ragweed around, which you haven't heard much about that, but all of a sudden we're seeing it.
Right, right. So. Gary, you mentioned genetics just now. Tell me, expand on that a little bit. I'm thinking in my head, when I first got here 35 years ago, 40 bushels was a darn good crop. And you were telling me earlier what yields you were getting last year.
Yeah, last year we were 50, 60 bushel yields pretty easily across the board. But in the last 3 years, in some of my better ground, I have seen my yield monitor bumping 100 bushel the acre. And of course, with our yield contest with the Soybean Association, this year, we had one producer at Clay Center get 99.8, so we're almost hitting that 100 bushel yield around here. And it's like, you think it's going to be not too much more time, and we might see more and more of that 80 bushel yields at least.
So you know, so that's a positive. So with the prices that we've had in the recent past, and the high yields, this has kind of been maybe a boon for young producers. I'm thinking of Tanner coming back to the farm.
That's what I was talking about earlier to you, that it's kind of nice to see this boom with this farm deal going on, that some of these young kids are starting to come in. Before, it looked like it was so dismal, nobody wanted to stick around on the farms, everybody's wanting to go to the cities. Now you're seeing more and more of these kids coming back to the farms. It's bringing up more competition, but it's probably a good thing too. So
what about trade potential with Cuba?
Yeah, the trade potential with Cuba, I think, is going to help quite a little bit. I mean, it's not a huge market, but every market we can pick up is going to help. You know, anything we can get.
Okay. So we've talked a couple things on the positive side. Well, there's some negative things out there as well. So what do you see wrong there, basically?
Probably what's going to hurt the soybean farmer more than anything right now is if this grain price keeps going down and down. And some of it, I think, has to do with right now they got that workers strike up.
Longshoremen.
Yeah, the longshoremen strike up in the ports up in Oregon and up in there, which is slowing down, especially the meat export. And the meat people are one of our biggest customers for soybeans.
Right, yeah.
So, and then of course a lot of soybeans go out of the Pacific Northwest too, so that's kind of putting the hurt on us a little bit right now. So hopefully they get that resolved before too much longer.
So tell me why a soybean grower in Kansas should belong to the Kansas Soybean Growers Association. What's the positive thing there?
I think the positive thing to belong, everybody should belong to any organization anything you raise, you should belong to that organization, because they're all out there fighting for your rights and trying to protect you from like all these animal activists and the GMO activists, and also we're trying to get farm bills, you know, passed.
It's supposed to be involved heavily in the farm bill.
Yeah, we're involved heavily in trying to get farm bills passed, and like the biodiesel extender, you know, the extenders bill, and we fought for the Section 179 up in Washington, trying to get that passed, which we have so far, but we want to get it more where they get more years instead of just doing it by year by year by deal. But I'm pretty advocate that, or think that everybody should be involved, because it's a good deal.
Okay. Well, Gary, I really appreciate you taking time out from the Commodity Classic here and talking with us and sharing your thoughts. So,
You're
folks,
welcome.
Stay with us. We'll be right back after these words from our sponsors.
Frank Lyons, a physician here at Kansas Regenerative Medicine Center. As one of the only standalone stem cell centers in the U.S., we use your stem cells as therapy for arthritis and some autoimmune diseases.
I'm Dr. Andrew Poe. Here at Kansas Regenerative Medicine Center, utilizing the latest technology under strict protocols, we're able to harvest your stem cells from your own fat to treat a variety of medical conditions. The best part about it is, it's a same-day surgical procedure and requires no general anesthesia.
Valley Vet Supply is devoted to providing information and professional quality products at reasonable prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
The Kansas Wheat Innovation Center in Manhattan is rediscovering ways to get improved varieties and new genetics in the hands of farmers faster. Grower-led and checkoff-funded research initiatives are bringing about positive change. This grassroots leadership provides a strong voice in Topeka and Washington, D.C. Now is the time to partner with Kansas Wheat in moving wheat forward. Kansas Wheat Commission and Kansas Association of Wheat Growers. Farmers investing in their future and yours. Log on to rediscoverwheat.org.
That's My Farm is brought to you in part by Tallgrass Commodities. Big enough to serve, small enough to care.
Welcome back to That's My Farm, folks. We have David Shim with us, who is with the National Association of Wheat Growers. He's Secretary Treasurer, and he's also a Wallace County farmer. So, David, you know, commodity prices are kind of whirling around here.
Right.
And weather's going up and down here.
Right.
You know, it was bone chilling yesterday and, 70 today. So tell me, what are some of the positives going on for wheat growers in the state of Kansas or nationally?
Well, you know, what's kind of neat about this year, especially as we get towards the western edge of the states, and you know, I'm even hearing that in other states too, as we go on over into Colorado and further north and further south into Oklahoma and Texas, is that they got a nice stand of wheat last fall. You know, it comes down simply to all of us are producers out here, and it's nothing greater than to see that nice, beautiful wheat crop going out there. And you know, that's where we did get a nice stand compared to where we have been in the past. Okay. So just a real positive things. We got a crop off to a nice start. I know in some areas it did get very cold. You know, it was hot, cold, and it tends to be a little bit harder on that plant, but we all know that wheat plant has a lot of lives in it to keep coming back.
Okay, so what are some of the, I mean, you've got kind of a current situation going on positive. So what nationally would be a positive for the wheat growers?
You know, one of the things that we're really positive about now is the TPP, the Trans-Pacific Partnership there, and it is moving forward. We've got an administration now who's been very positive about trying to move this forward. We even have a Congress now that's starting to talk about the fast-track authority for the president to be able to move that forward. And so we're really positive that's going to start to help open up markets there with that partnership and make those more available for those wheat producers out there. We've got some countries that have joined that partnership late in the game here that, you know, we're still trying to work out the details, but you know what we're hearing with the support from the administration and our trade representative, you know, hopefully there's some positive room there. But you know, that's just a real positive on the national side from there. You know, we've gotten, thankfully we got a farm bill passed here this last year, and we've got it in place. You know, but the challenging part of that is that now we're trying to get it implemented, and I know the secretary here just discussed yesterday about some of the enrollment numbers, that they're being very low. From what I've seen and experienced out in the countryside there is that the Farm Bill programs and sessions are pretty highly attended. Producers are trying to find out, trying to find out. It's a big thing. There's a lot of decisions for them to make. You know, some producers have viewed some of those decisions as, you know, an opportunity, a positive opportunity to better get a tool that will work for their operation out there. However, there's definitely some producers that are concerned that it's pretty difficult to try to digest what they have and pretty difficult to try to predict what's going to happen in the future.
Okay, so we've talked on some positive sides. What are some negatives associated now with just agriculture in general? I'm thinking of a couple. You know.
Well, obviously, you know, one is the falling commodity prices there. It's hitting us all. A little bit gets dismayed when you still see a lot of the input prices still staying high. So obviously, those margins are tightening up there for our producers out there, and so that's a challenge there. You know, coming from on out there. And as I referenced earlier, from a national side there, some of the challenges we are facing is trying to get farmers informed and educated on a farm bill so that they know what they're signing up for and understand it. We're also challenged now with, you know, like I mentioned earlier, low enrollment numbers, so that it puts a last-minute burden, especially on our local offices, to try to get all these farmers through to get signed up. So we're definitely concerned there. The other thing I think is definitely high on our radar as we look at what's going on now and looking into the future is regulations. We've got waters of the U.S. going on. We've got various point spill and environment runoff. We now have a tie-in of conservation compliance with insurance, which has gotten a lot of our producers very concerned about making sure they're in compliance and the impact it can have on their operation. So some big challenges there. You know, it's these things that it's so important for people to be a part of a commodity organization. Get involved with your industry out there, because we need to hear that voice. We need to know what's going on out there so that we can bring those issues back to the Hill, back to DC, and so that they can be aware of it and know how to handle it going into the future. I look at our own organization, National Association Wheat Growers. We've had producers who have dealt with massive challenges, and you know, luckily we've been able to be a part of that role. But one producer absolutely got tied up for several years of farm program just because they found a half acre out of compliance on his operation, and he actually got it resolved, you know, with the interaction there. So, you know, that's some challenge that we're definitely dealing with now.
David, thank you for sharing your thoughts about the Wheat Growers Association and the positives and negatives that we're facing in the industry. And folks, thank you for being with us as well. And don't forget, next Friday we'll be here, same time, same place. See you then.
Closed captioning brought to you by Kansas Soybean Commission. The Soybean Checkoff Progress, powered by Kansas farmers.